My guest at this time is the host of the new 6-episode podcast series available now, Extreme Conversations. It's Brian Myers. Brian, thank you very much for taking the time to chat with me here today.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So this is really smart, man. I've been waiting for somebody to come along and do something like this. You know, Conrad has found so much success, obviously, looking back at all the WWE and WCW stuff. It made a lot of sense for an ECW show to come along, and you're the one who did it here. Why did you feel it was time to make this show, Brian?
To be completely transparent, it's under the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast umbrella network, and Matt, Cardona, my partner, knew that he wanted to do this retrospective of his YouTube show, 10-year anniversary. Great concept, very simple. Dissecting week by week, 10 years to the day of when these episodes occurred. And I was kind of like, well, I got to do my share of this. And I've had this idea for such a long time, and I've pushed so many ECW guys to do it. Like, why don't you do it? Why don't you do it? And no one did. And I said, you know what? F it. I can do it myself. I have all these guys. I've become friends with them. They're at my fingertips, in my Rolodex here. Like, I can make this happen. And along the lines of what you just said, like, Conrad would be exceptional at this, and he's an ECW fan as well. I think he was just looking for the right guy because that's how he operates. But I'm like, there is no right guy. I need to get all the guys here. And that's what made this, I think, so unique and so successful so far.
Yeah, I guess maybe Heyman, right? Like if you could get Paul Heyman to sit down and pick his brain, that would maybe be the guy, right?
But I don't know. His reputation is so much that it's like, what do we listen to? Fairy tales? It's Paul Heyman's version of everything that happened, And I actually do think that's kind of part of like the lore of ECW. I can ask 5 different ECW guys, the same question and get like 5 drastically different answers and stuff. I think that's kind of, it's been 20 something years. So I think that's like the fun of it too. It doesn't even matter if you're being kind of bullshit about something at this point, because it's become like fable.
Yeah. Well, I went and looked it up, by the way. We're like, we're only separated by 2 months. We're almost the same age.
Cool.
What was your ECW fandom like as a kid? Because I grew up in a pretty conservative household.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really know what ECW was.
Yeah.
Until I got to college. Like, what was your fandom when you were growing up?
It was, I grew up a regular kid, age of 5, I found WWF, and then I got the Hasbro figures, and then I went to the toy store and saw these WCW figures, and I'm like, huh? And you just start piecing stuff along. I remember like an early like tape trading kind of thing and buying tapes and finding stuff of like AAA or whatever. And then ECW is something that I found through the magazines at first, and then other people talking about it, like my buddies or fellow wrestling fans. And I got really interested in it. And it was on at 2 a.m. here in New York. And I remember I would like watch SNL and then be like, okay, I have this hour gap that I just could not suffer through as like a child. It was so hard to stay up that late. And I'd have a tape in the VCR ready to go in case I passed out. And I'd push it in and click record and like wake up to hopefully ECW, So that was a lot of my first like memories of it. And then once it was nuts, because to me, like the TNN deal and the action figures and the video game all just kind of came there in the middle of 99, late summer 99. And it was like, wow, this is Full Tilt. The magazine, I remember, I was like, I was so invested in all that stuff. And then I finally went to it live, and that was like, that sealed the deal. That seeing it live, I had been to WCW, I had been to WWF, and it was fun. And I was a blithering wrestling fan and had a great time, but there was something about that atmosphere that was unlike anything I'd ever experienced up to that point. And honestly, I'm 36 and I still haven't, that still holds this special spot in my heart, what it was.
Wow. So I had no idea your fandom was that deep. Actually, because you were like 14 then when you were going to ECW shows.
Yeah,
right?
I remember. I mean, the first show I went to was a TNN taping in White Plains, and it was December 23rd, 1999. It's when Mike Awesome wins the title back from Tanaka, and I begged my older brother to take me. He had just gotten his license. I was still pretty young. I think I was a freshman in high school, and he took me, and it was just unreal. I have such vivid memories of it because it made such a big impact on me.
Sure.
And I've worked that building so many times for WWE, and it's a very small blip on the WWE radar when you're doing live events and stuff. But to me, I'm like, oh my God, this is the spot, like, holy shit, like so excited.
Did you ever bump into Tony Khan when you were a kid going to ECW shows? I know he's infamous for having attention.
I know that's very, very possible. Like, I mean, I met Matt Cardona at wrestling school when we were 18, and we've figured out that we were at so many shows together, signings, all kinds of stuff. But I couldn't tell you for sure.
Yeah.
There's plenty
Yeah.
of that.
So 6 episodes. Each episode has a different wrestler attached to it that you pick their brain about all the various ECW stories.
No, every
You're
episode has like multiple guys, 5, 6, 7. So it's little. That's why it kind of is such an easy listen. It's a little. It's like we're talking about Anarchy Rules 99, and let's hear from boom, 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 boom. We hop around and get all different kind of scenarios.
Oh, well, that's way better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's why people. I mean, I've been floored by the feedback, and we were number 2 last week when we debuted.
Yeah.
So it was just overwhelming. But I think that's why people are listening and go, "Wow, this is such an easy listen."
Yeah. So what are some of the stuff that surprised you in the conversations about ECW, like that you didn't know, and that you were like, wow, that's kind of surprising?
Didn't I mean there's one episode that's all about the music, and to me that was a very impactful part of ECW to me. That if you're a kid driving around in the car with your mom, or whatever, you're not going to hear "Sexy Boy" by Shawn Michaels on the radio, but you'll hear "Man in the Box" by Tommy Dreamer. Tommy Dreamer's theme is by why am I drawing a blank here? Alice in Chains. That there was something about that was like so different to me as a wrestling fan that really connected with me. So I did an episode that's all about the music, and basically I tried to interview as many people as I possibly could and ask them, hey, this was your ECW theme music. Why and how did this come to be? And it's just quick hits of everybody telling their stories and how it came to be and stuff. So a lot of those origins I didn't know at all, because it's just never really been talked about.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you think about like Sandman, and it's like, is there Sandman without Enter Sandman?
Right? I mean, you can't. But then, if you're a wrestling fan and you hear "Enter Sandman" by Metallica, you don't think like, "Oh, this is a great Metallica hit." You think, "Oh man, the Sandman, hell yeah, let's crack a beer." Like it made such an imprint and a lasting imprint, because these are timeless songs attached to like a timeless wrestling company. So if it means something to you, it's never going away.
Oh yeah, for sure. I've asked Sandman several times if he'll chug beers and smash beers off his head with me as we listen to Enter Sandman, and he never says yes. And
I don't know if this is public knowledge, but he's sober right now. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So if you watch him on an indie show or whatever, he's just kind of making a mess of beers, but he's not consuming.
Oh, well, good for him, man.
Yeah.
That's great. That's really, really great to hear.
Mhm.
So who do GCW gets a lot of comparisons. Do you think there's like is there an heir apparent out there for you right now to ECW, you think, or no?
I mean, the GCW has those vibes, those underdog vibes. I think Impact Wrestling has those underdog vibes. I'm there.
Sure.
When I first showed up, I'm like, oh my God, this is the land of like misfit toys, people who are underappreciated or never given a chance, all coming together to kind of for this common goal of, proving people wrong. I thought that was pretty rad. And that's like the ECW spirit for sure. Giving guys chances that you never thought they would and seeing if they excel or not.
Yeah, for sure. How is it, by the way, at Impact right now in the wake of like the AEW relationship? Because it seems like that's paused for the moment. Is there any kind of change now?
I mean, I believe that scenario is over. It was whatever it was agreed upon has all played out. I thought it was great partnership and really good exposure for everybody. People that, and I say this in all my interviews, just like I watched TNA from day one, from 2002. I had like the hot box growing up. I saw all those original weekly pay-per-views and stuff. And I think it's been just such a long history and so many ups and downs and so many changes that wrestling fans have kind of given up on it. And the product that stands today is nothing like any of that stuff. It's just it's completely new and different. And I've always said, just give it a chance. If it's been a long time, just give it a chance and check it out, because I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, and what do you think about what AEW is trying to do, creating their identity right now?
I love it. It's changed the wrestling business. It's incredible. I mean, it's changed everything, and it had a legitimate number 2 or equal at this point, right? A 1-1, which for me, being in the business, I'm 17 and a half years now. Like, I've never been a part of something like that where it was 2 mega companies going head to head. It's just healthy for the business.
Yeah, for sure. And so when all the Impact AEW stuff is going on, and obviously you share this kindred spirit of the ECW love, like that, everybody's favorite Tony Khan, was there ever any talk of you getting to play around with that forbidden door, maybe come over and do some stuff with AEW?
Not that I ever inquired, but I'm sure. I don't know if it was ever designed like that. I think they just wanted the Good Brothers.
Okay.
And then they wanted Kenny. It wasn't like a revolving door of everyone, even though that option obviously was on the table. I'm sure anyone could have worked anywhere. I love that, I can watch Dynamite and, a New Japan guy pops up or an indie guy who's not even signed. Like, I think that's so incredibly fun as a wrestling fan compared to the lack thereof, the surprises of, watching something else.
Well, one of the reasons I kind of wanted to pivot a bit to AEW talk, and I know you're with Impact, was because like, and this has bled over to Impact as well, but like you have been so integral to the business for the past several years with Creative Pro. I was talking to a friend the other day that was really just kind of laying in how vital you have become to producing the next wave of big talent for
Mm-hmm.
the industry right now. What is it like for you to watch these shows and seeing people that you've like MJF, like Max Caster, like seeing these people you've molded start to finally find real success in the business right now?
It's pretty indescribable, man. It's overwhelming. Like, Creative Pro has been a real passion project and something that was never designed for Pat Balk and I to make money. It was designed because we love wrestling so damn much and we wanted a place to call our own and where we could wrestle. I mean, I think that's a big thing that separates Creative Pro from other schools. Like, we're not like run down, beat up old wrestlers. Like, I'm like in the prime of my career. Like, some days I go there and I go, let's go, guys. I need a effing workout here. Like, let's sweat. And I'm busting my balls, taking way more bumps than I probably should. And along the lines I was saying, like, it was never designed to like make all this money. It was just for common minded people that love the business. So like, if someone came and they're a goof or they're disrespectful or they're just not gonna cut it, we're like, hit the bricks, dude. Like, we don't need your money. This isn't
Yeah.
what this is. But the people like MJF and Chris Statlander or Max Caster, people that just work their effing asses off and love the business and are there to learn and soak up everything. They reaped all the benefits from it, and so did I, because I'm learning, I'm loving wrestling. It's just such a wonderful, positive environment that I've known about for years because I've been cultivating it, and now people are seeing it on television, and I'm seeing these people, make their living off wrestling and be so successful. It's unbelievably special. I mean, they're here tonight in Long Island, and I'm going to sneak into a skybox and soak it all in. I didn't want to be in the crowd with the fans. I didn't want to be backstage because I knew I'd see 700 people I hadn't seen in years and just talk. And I want to soak in the show and watch my guys and like truly enjoy it, in the best way I can.
Well, it's going to be a big night for MJF, man. Hometown, right? His parents have got this sign deriding him front row. Always good when the family supports.
Totally, yeah.
But like, when did you know this guy was special, right? Because he was one of your earliest graduates, I believe, at Creative Pro.
Yeah, he's a year one guy. I mean, his story's not really that out there, but he was supposed to play college football, and I think he did like a couple days of the training camp, the early training camp, and like got in his car in the middle of the night and just blew it off and told his parents he wanted to be a wrestler, and that was his real dream. So his dad, my version of the story is his dad kind of just walked him into the school and was like, he's your problem now. Like, he just fucked off college, and I'm kind of pissed. So, but that being said, he always worked his ass off, always a natural athlete. And then I'll never forget the first time we did promo class. He he went after a real low hanging fruit, like a fellow class member, and just absolutely slayed him. And the first time I ever saw him do a promo, so I was like, okay, there's something to this guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
How has it been watching him get to work with CM Punk, man? This is a big deal right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a perfect combination, putting them two together, the old timer and the up and comer, and they both love to run their mouth. I think it's like going to be a lot of fun for wrestling fans, especially in the payoff.
Yeah. Have you been impressed with Punk since he's returned to action here for AEW?
Not necessarily, no.
Why? And I'm just asking for your honest opinion because it's like,
oh yeah, I mean, I'm just being honest. No, yeah, no.
What is it? What do you think that's been missing right now? Because a lot of people are kind of echoing what you're saying, and I'm just interested as somebody.
I don't have the answer to that. I mean, to not wrestle for 7 years has got to be a huge burden. Is all. I mean, the longest I ever was off in my whole career was the 4 months that everything shut down for COVID, and I shut Creative Pro down and everything. And the first time I went back, I had a what I thought very simple practice. I woke up the next day thinking I was Mick Foley and I was thrown off the cell. Like, I thought my career was over. That's how like much of a toll it took on my body. And Punk is older than I am, so it cannot be easy what he's trying to do. But I'm sure it's just going to take time and reps and the calcifying of his body and his lungs and all the stupid things that pro wrestlers do.
Wow. Okay. Well, and with Chris Statlander too, the other, we mentioned her earlier. she's in a position right now. She could be the TBS champion over at AEW. How has it been for you seeing her kind of step up into this position in the
I
company?
always say Chris is my favorite student of all time. She's just like a sweetheart and a wonderful human being, and literally worked so damn hard to pick up wrestling. Like, she wasn't a fan per se, but she fell in love with it and saw what was going on, and she literally just worked so hard and was there day in and night. I mean, like, there was a lot of other our female girls have quit, and she never quit and would just be in there with the guys, like, banging it out, taking the bumps and bruises, and she's just such an impressive athlete too. Like, holy shit, and she only gets better. So I'm very excited for her success, and like, I don't even think she scratched the surface yet.
Yeah, and what do you think about the state of women's wrestling in general right now? I mean, there's a lot of bright stars like Chris right now, but like the women's revolution's 3-4 years old at this point.
Yeah, but they've made their mark and they've made their point. It's come so far from when I started, what it was, bikini contests and nonsense, to where, like, I mean, I was part of WWE, the past couple of years, and I saw, like, the women matter, like, big time. Like, they have huge fan bases, they move merch, like, they get superstar reactions on shows and live events, so it's really cool to see how far it's come, and I think it's still, growing. I think losing Ronda was a big hit to the star power of the women's roster. I always thought that because she brought a lot to the table, and I was there for a lot of that. I mean, she was a mega star, bringing all the rest of the roster up to her level, which I thought was pretty cool.
How was Rhonda to work with or be around when she was?
Super cool. I mean, I did tours with her and all kinds of stuff. She just threw herself right into the thick of it, and like one of the boys. It was really
Do you,
cool, actually.
do you think she was like happy towards the end? And I mean, I don't have any idea what your relationship is, but like I got the vibe she was a little put off by the fans booing her towards the end of her WWE.
That I don't really know. I couldn't answer that on it,
Okay,
but she was always great to be around.
all
As
right.
far as
Well,
I know, super
I
cool.
followed myself down a rabbit hole. Hey, so back to the ECW tones. Your buddy Matt went out and became the Deathmatch King in 2021. What was your reaction to Matt's decision to do this, and what transpired during and after the match?
Yeah, I watched that, like, holding my breath. I mean, I think it's something that it was like a shot in the arm that his career needed, for sure. So I think ultimately it was the a great decision. I mean, he paid the price of it, and that being his body. But like I said, I think it was much needed to reintroduce the world to, Matt Cardona and the people that, just see him as this woo-woo guy. I think it ultimately was the best decision for his career.
What about you? Do you have any interest in going and falling through panes of glass and onto thumbtacks and things of that nature?
No, I'm an adult and I have children, and I can't be doing stuff like that. But like I said, Matt needed it, and Matt kind of, like, I mean, he had the, like, forgettable AEW weekly run or whatever that was, and then he kind of just sat home because. And I tried to explain to him, he had never not been in the WWE really, and it's hard to navigate those waters at first, especially if you don't know. So I think he was hesitant to dip his toe in that water, and then I mean, obviously he mentioned just jump right the fuck in, but he got it. But it took a little while, and now he's thriving, so it's awesome.
Do you feel like you were kind of helping him a bit as he made that transition, since you're like, no, I've been here, I've done this before?
Dude, I tried. I've known Matt since was 18. He doesn't listen to nobody but himself, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and do you have interest in going and maybe not falling through glass, but joining Matt over at GCW land? I know that.
No, I can't. I can never work for GCW. I'm an adult.
Okay, fair
Yeah.
enough. All right. Well, that's it. Okay. Well, would you have felt that way about ECW if you were 36 at the same time, or do you look at it differently?
I mean, ECW can do no wrong in my mind because I have such sentimental, fanboy memories of it. So of course not.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. All right. Well, Brian, take us home here. Where do you want to send people to find the new show, information about it, all of those great things?
Extreme Conversations is absolutely free wherever you find your podcast. Download it. Like, there's a pilot and 5 episodes. It's all of season 1. We dropped it all at one time, so you can just binge listen. Pick and choose which ones you want to hear first, like straight up Netflix style, like go after it. And I encourage you to use hashtag Extreme Conversations on any form of social media, Twitter, Instagram, and let me know what you think about it. I mean, the feedback has been overwhelming. Like I said, we debuted at number 2. We were like absolutely floored because I've really done next to zero promotion for this. So, I mean, we're blown away, and the feedback has been so cool, and people just have really loved it. And I mean, like we talked about, people just love DCW and have very awesome, like, sentimental memories of it. So I'm glad to do my part and help keep that alive.